The moment the solo contracts expired, the fandom went completely silent. You could hear a pin drop across the entire K-pop landscape. The teasers stopped, the updates halted. Rumors were just swirling like wildfire about a permanent hiatus. I mean, would we ever get a comeback,
Right.
right?
People were legitimately panicking.
Exactly. And then, out of nowhere, this blurry late-night Polaroid drops on Instagram featuring a massive global superstar. In an instant, the entire K-pop world was turned upside down. Welcome to Starscope K-Report. Join Eric and Minji as we ride the Hallyu wave, uncovering the biggest K-pop comebacks, shocking industry controversies, and major K-drama updates. From internet-breaking rumors to historic chart milestones, we dive deep into the world of Korean entertainment.
Today, we're diving deep into the headline that really shook the industry, which is why Rosé left YG for good and, well, the truth about her new deal. We're looking at a stack of industry reports, agency statements, and chart data to bring you a comprehensive look at not just a contract change, but the strategic launch of the biggest global track of 2025.
For you listening at home, this is like the ultimate breakdown. We're looking at how a single artist navigated one of the most precarious transitions in the music industry. So let's start with this whole together but separate era.
Yeah, that was a wild time.
When Blackpink renewed their group contracts with YG Entertainment back in December 2023, the collective sigh of relief from the global fandom was deafening. But then came the plot twist, because they all walked away from their solo deals.
It was a total meltdown online.
A complete meltdown.
Well, it was a highly calculated uncoupling, and the timeline of how it played out is crucial to understanding her current dominance. So in December 2023, the members split from YG for their solo endeavors. Now, if we look at the mechanics of K-pop contracts, agencies traditionally control everything.
Right, from music production to brand deals to acting gigs, everything.
Exactly. Splitting group activities from solo representation at this level of stardom was virtually unprecedented. Jennie, Lisa, and Jisoo immediately began setting up their own independent, self-managed labels. They took the CEO route. But Rosé took a completely different path.
Which honestly had everyone on edge. I mean, for anyone who's biased, their absolute favorite member is Rosé. Those months were terrifying. She isn't the maknae, the youngest member who might just follow the others leave. She's the main vocal. Yet she stayed completely quiet while the other three are launching these massive independent companies.
Which is exactly why her silence was a strategy in itself. Taking that time to map out an independent future is a massive commercial risk in today's attention economy. The conventional wisdom is, to strike while the iron is hot.
Yeah, the industry moves so fast.
It does. If you go dark for 6 months in the K-pop machine, you risk losing your core pop audience to the next debut group. But she eventually signed a management deal with the Black label in June 2024, and then secured a massive global solo deal with Atlantic Records in September.
And she actually explained the silence herself. She posted this incredibly vulnerable message on her Instagram. She said she wanted to be prepared with, good stuff before making any announcements.
Right.
But the part that really stood out was when she admitted she needed time to learn, understand, doubt, and trust herself. In the highly polished, tightly controlled world of K-pop, where idols are trained for years to project absolute perfection, admitting to professional doubt is basically unheard of.
It's a huge deal. That transparency signals a deliberate pivot from the manufactured idol system to becoming a fully autonomous artist. She noted that for years, more things had been done for her rather than her doing things on her own. She spent those quiet months just living in the studio, drawing up a literal map for her life.
Okay, let's unpack this autonomous narrative, though, because I have to push back a little on how independent this move actually was. She signed with the Black label. That's Teddy Park's agency.
Yeah, the legendary Teddy Park.
Right. Teddy is the producer behind practically every iconic Blackpink track. Whistle, Boombaya, you name it. Is this really a massive leap of independence? Honestly, it feels a bit like moving out of a strict boarding school, but choosing to move in with your cool rebel uncle. It's a massive safety net.
That is a brilliant analogy, and you're right to question it. It is a safety net, but it's a structural one.
Yeah.
Teddy Park is her musical foundation. By going with the Black label, she wasn't abandoning her sonic roots.
She was securing them.
Exactly, but this time under her own terms. The genius of the move is the pairing. She kept the creative comfort of Teddy Park for her domestic operations, but she paired it with Atlantic Records for global distribution. Atlantic is home to Western pop giants.
The big leagues.
Right. She essentially built a corporate bridge between her K-pop origins and Western mainstream pop, allowing her to operate in both worlds simultaneously without compromising either.
Wow. If you love staying updated on your favorites and decoding these massive industry moves, make sure you're subscribed to Starscope K Report. We've got even bigger scoops ahead.
And that strategic corporate bridge is really only the setup, because that's not even the wildest part of this comeback. Wait until you hear how a literal drinking game caused a stock market surge.
Oh my gosh, the APT explosion. This was the comeback that literally broke the internet and secured a true global all-kill, meaning the track simultaneously topped every single major real-time and daily music chart in South Korea. When APT dropped featuring Bruno Mars, it was a cultural reset.
Let's break down the musical architecture of APT, because it's a masterclass in production. It's a pop-punk electro-pop track. The producers interpolated elements from Tony Basil's 1982 hit Mickey.
Oh, specifically that heavy, infectious, stomping cheerleader beat.
Yes, interpolation is when you take a melody or beat from an existing song and re-record it to form the backbone of a new track. But the core hook, the part that gets stuck in your head, it's literally the rhythmic chant of a popular South Korean drinking game called Apetu.
Aperture is so aggressively catchy. But the secret truth behind this track is that Rosé actually had severe doubts about releasing it.
Wait, really?
Yeah. She was terrified that a song based on a late-night Korean drinking game, where everyone stacks their hands and shouts a number, wouldn't translate globally. She even went so far as to ask her team to delete the file from their phones.
No way.
I'm serious. It was Teddy Park who stopped her. He heard the rough mix and promised her it would break the internet.
Well, Teddy definitely recognized the viral mechanics of the hook, but we also have to talk about the Bruno Mars factor. Historically, when a K-pop artist collaborates with a Western star, it can sometimes feel like a transactional feature. You know, a verse gets emailed over, slapped on the track, and they shoot the video separately.
Yeah, it can feel super disconnected.
But this was highly collaborative.
Hmm.
Rosé physically brought Bruno into the studio and taught him the mechanics of the Apetu drinking game.
The Instagram rollout for this was just top tier. She dropped that Polaroid of them at a table saying she taught him how to play the game, and he replied in the comments, joking about her trying to kiss him after a few rounds. The fandom was losing its mind.
It really felt like two musicians just genuinely hanging out.
Exactly. And that authenticity bled into the entire project. Originally, Rosé was going to title her debut solo album Number One Girl, but Bruno actively pushed her to change it to Rosie. He told her that title felt closer to who she actually was in the studio.
Changing an album title based on advice from a collaborator shows a massive level of creative trust. And if we look at the statistics, that authenticity translated into staggering commercial dominance.
Yeah.
APT was named the 2025 IFPI best-selling global single.
Oh, wow.
To put that in perspective, the IFPI measures global consumption across all formats, so physical, digital, streaming. This marks the very first time an artist outside of North America or Europe topped that specific chart, and the first song with non-English lyrics to do so.
Which is insane when you think about the sheer volume of music released globally.
It gets bigger. It spent 12 weeks atop the Billboard Global 200. It became the fastest song by a K-pop act to reach 1 billion streams on Spotify, hitting that milestone in exactly 100 days. And critically, it earned 3 Grammy Award nominations.
3 Grammy nods.
Best Pop Duo Group Performance, Record of the Year, and Song of the Year. That makes Rosé the first K-pop artist in history to be nominated in a Big Four category as a lead artist. She also took home the Brit Award for International Song of the Year.
Those Grammy nods are monumental. For a decade, the industry has debated when K-pop would finally broaden out of the niche pop categories and be recognized for Record of the Year. But what I find so brilliant is the cultural duality of this track's reception. You look at the YouTube comments or TikToks from Western fans, and they are obsessed with the pop-punk nostalgia.
Right. It taps perfectly into Western musical nostalgia.
It does. It feels like an edgy 2000s Avril Lavigne throwback to them. But meanwhile, domestic netizens, the K-nets, were experiencing this overwhelming sense of national pride for a completely different reason. In the music video, you have Bruno Mars, a massive Western pop icon, literally waving the tagugi, the South Korean flag, and shouting, "Jeonbae," which means cheers.
Incredible.
It was this massive validation of everyday Korean culture on a global stage.
This is what sociologists call a successful glocal fusion. Taking something hyper-local and packaging it for a global audience without diluting the original culture.
And think about the irony of that. I really want you, the listener, to think about this. Rosé leaves her traditional K-pop agency. She signs with Atlantic Records, a massive Western giant. You would assume the strategy is, okay, I'm going to make a standard, smooth English language pop track to finally conquer US radio.
Right, play it safe.
But instead, her breakout solo hit is the most aggressively, authentically Korean cultural export imaginable, a literal drinking game.
To be fair, relying on a localized drinking game chant was a massive commercial gamble. It could have easily been written off as a novelty hit, something like the Macarena.
True, very true.
But what grounded it and what defied the conventional wisdom of the industry was the pop-punk production. The traditional blueprint for crossover success, like if you think back to the early 2000s attempts or even early English tracks by major K-pop groups, it was assimilation, sand off the cultural edges to fit in. Rosé proved that hyper-specificity, like sharing a genuine, unfiltered piece of her offstage culture, is actually what creates universal appeal in the modern streaming era.
It's just brilliant. And later in the deep dive, we'll talk about the shocking plot twist involving martial law and a 1982 trot song that nobody saw coming.
Because the ripple effects of APT truly transcended the music industry. It became an unstoppable economic and cultural phenomenon. Let's look at the financial mechanics first. The song is built around a drinking game, which naturally sparked massive international curiosity about Korean drinking culture.
Sook.
Exactly, somak, which is a traditional mix of soju and beer.
Oh my gosh, my algorithm was completely flooded with it. Everyone on TikTok was suddenly an amateur bartender trying to find the perfect ratio of soju to beer, using chopsticks to make the phone rise.
And the market reacted immediately to that viral trend. Jinro, one of the major South Korean beverage companies that produces soju, saw their stock jump by 6% in a single day, with trading volume exceeding 1 million shares.
That is wild.
Institutional investors realized that Rosé was essentially providing a free, highly effective global masterclass on Korean drinking culture. That visibility directly translated into a spike in international soju exports.
A 6% stock bump for a national beverage company because of a pop-punk song? That is the definition of impact. But the song didn't just move the stock market, it literally manipulated the space-time continuum. She resurrected a track from the 1980s.
This is a fascinating mechanical side effect of modern streaming algorithms. Back in 1982, a Korean singer named Yoon Soo-il released a massive hit track also titled Apartment. It's a staple of the older generation.
Right, like a classic.
Following the release of Rosé and Bruno Mars's duet, search algorithms and general curiosity led to that 1982 track seeing a 190% surge in streaming on platforms like Genie Music. Yoon Soo-il even gave an interview to the press expressing his gratitude, noting how rare it is for a song from 4 decades ago to be reconstructed and discovered by a completely new global generation.
It's like she built a time machine for the charts. But the cultural weight of the song went even deeper than streaming numbers and soju sales, right into the fabric of national events.
It did. And, to be completely clear, we are simply reporting the sociological facts of how this song was utilized by the public. We are not taking a political stance or endorsing the events.
Exactly. Strictly impartial reporting here.
During the 2024 South Korean martial law crisis, APT was utilized by citizens as a protest song.
It's incredible to observe purely as a pop culture phenomenon. You have this upbeat track about a late-night drinking game being sung by massive crowds in the streets during a highly tense national crisis.
It speaks to the mechanics of how songs function in large crowds. The repetitive rhythmic nature of the Apatu chant makes it incredibly easy for thousands of people to sing in unison without needing a backing track. More importantly, it bridged a massive generational divide.
Oh, that makes sense.
Yeah, you had older citizens in the crowds who associated the word with Yoon Soo-il's 1982 Apartment, standing shoulder to shoulder with younger citizens who knew Rosé's 2024 APT. A pop-punk drinking song became an unintended, yet highly effective tool for solidarity.
It just goes to show that once an artist releases their work into the world, it no longer belongs to them. The people decide what it means and how it's used. The strategy of sharing her authentic, unfiltered self didn't stop at music, though. It's the exact same blueprint she's using to conquer the fashion and business world.
Her brand dominance requires its own breakdown, because she isn't just modeling clothes. She's structuring high-level corporate partnerships. She is a global ambassador for Yves Saint Laurent, which is why you see her making those stunning, headline-grabbing appearances at the Met Gala. She is the face of Tiffany & Company.
Specifically driving their Tiffany lock collection, which was so successful they debuted a Rosé edition featuring 18-karat rose gold and rare pink sapphires. And she also represents Rimowa luggage, but the partnership that really highlights her new autonomy is with Puma. In 2025, she didn't just do a photo shoot. She launched a deeply personal ballet sneaker collection called the Speed Cat Ballet. It tied perfectly into the ballet core aesthetic.
Right, very on trend.
Under her old agency, her fashion styling was often heavily dictated by a central creative team. Now she's actively designing the silhouettes.
The creative control extends to her touring infrastructure as well, which brings us to her most significant business move outside of Atlantic Records. She signed with WME, William Morris Endeavor, for worldwide representation in her solo music career.
Explain why that matters, because a lot of people might confuse WME with a record label.
So WME is a global booking agency. Traditional K-pop agencies usually handle tour booking in-house, which often limits their routing to the standard K-pop arena circuits in the US and Europe. By signing with WME, Rosé is tapping into the same touring infrastructure used by artists like Taylor Swift and Adele.
The absolute biggest names.
Exactly. WME stated they are preparing her for massive global releases and, critically, solo global touring on a stadium scale.
A solo global stadium tour. Start saving up, because the visual of hearing 50,000 people chanting Apatow live in a stadium is going to be unreal. Hit that subscribe button so you never miss a KT update as that tour gets announced.
When you look at the entire architectural layout of her career over the last year, the careful departure from YG, the domestic safety net of the Black Label, the global distribution muscle of Atlantic, the organic creation of APT with Bruno Mars, and the massive touring infrastructure of WMA. I mean, it is a masterclass in modern artist management.
It really is. It's the blueprint of the decade. Let's pull this all together for a final thought. I want you to consider what Rosé's monumental success actually means for the future of K-pop soloists. For years, the industry tried so hard to westernize its sound to break into the US market. The strategy was to use English-only tracks, generic pop beats, and hide the cultural quirks so Western radio wouldn't get confused. Did Rosé just completely rewrite the rulebook?
She definitely proved that cultural assimilation is not the only path to 1 billion streams, a stock market surge, or a Grammy nomination.
Right. By taking a hyper-local, authentic piece of Korean culture, a simple drinking game played at late-night dinners, and wrapping it in universally loved pop-punk, she conquered the world. It makes you wonder, will the next wave of K-pop global hits be the ones that stop trying to fit in and instead force the world to play their game?
A fascinating question to leave on.
You've been listening to Starscope K-Report, where Eric and Minji bring you the stories shaping K-pop, K-dramas, and the global Hallyu wave. Thanks for tuning in, and don't forget to subscribe for more stories that keep the stars shining.